No, too dark. Too boring. Yeah. I have a really important meeting right now on a video call, and it has to be just perfect, okay? So the video is, it looks quite good. And now, which camera should I think I did the best camera I can find. And now I'll put on the headset. Damn, it looks so stupid to have a headset on, huh? Maybe I should use the other device here. This looks a little better. But actually, what I want is I want to have good audio quality. It's the most important thing, that I can speak fluently. But which device should I use? If I don't use a headset, I can use these internal microphone here, or maybe my left mic. Is this the best audio quality? I can't test it because I can hear myself when I'm speaking to someone else. We have a telecom team in Head Acoustic. I just called Jakob, and he knows everything about audio quality. Let me get that. Jakob. Okay. Jakob, are you there?
Sure.
Ah, there you are. Fine.
How are you?
This is the guy who knows everything about meeting in virtual video and audio quality. Jakob, I have a really important meeting in 2 hours, and I like to have the best setup. I got a nice lighting here, okay, that makes some impression, but I normally use this kind of headset here, which has an external microphone. We have a close headphones, but it looks stupid, huh? Especially when you have this effect on it, something is working in here. So is there any other options? Maybe, look, I have another headset, looks more decent. Yeah, I have this really cute microphone, but it works on Bluetooth. So I guess there will be a delay, and maybe this delay, I hate when this disturb the full audience conference, no, doesn't it? Or I have a left mic here. Maybe this is the best option. Or I have this internal mic of the laptop. There's so many options I can choose here in my software. But what is the best? Have you any tips for me there?
Oh, there's so many good questions in that, Till. I think we need to break it down a little bit
All right.
because we would obviously love to meet face to face.
Yeah.
You and I are very far apart right now geographically. We cannot meet face to face very quickly, so we have to open up this conference and we have
Yeah.
to talk. And then the question, one of the many questions is, how do we get the best experience?
Mm-hmm.
And you touched on a lot of different points that we should probably try and spread out a little bit and
Okay.
address
I have
individually.
time. Yeah.
Oh,
Tell me.
good, good. We have 5 minutes before your
Yeah.
call, right? So
No, it's
let's
2
see if
hours now. Yeah.
let's see if we can cover it
Yeah.
in less than 2 hours.
Right.
Let's start with your question about headset. I know that a lot of people join these virtual meetings and they blur their background or they put on an artificial background, and yet sometimes the video plays tricks with the
Yeah.
the headset and it looks a little goofy. But generally, you do end up with nice audio quality when you wear a headset.
Okay.
Because for many reasons, you isolate your microphone from your speaker setup, so you don't generally have acoustic coupling between the two. That's a good thing.
All right.
The one that you're wearing there looks to be a wired headset.
Yeah, I got the wire headset.
So you're plugged
It's
right
just
into
my
your computer.
idea. I just heard the best Wi-Fi connection is a cable, so I always try to use a cable.
That's good. I like that. It's true. Wired connections is usually a good thing if you're talking about reducing delays and latencies in the communication. So you and I, we're on a good connection right now.
Yeah.
We're able to communicate fairly seamlessly. But remember that as humans, we only started doing this telephony business in the last, let's say, 150 years, right?
All right.
All other communication was what we call face-to-face, or the technical term is the orthotelephonic reference situation,
Okay.
which is two people that sit face-to-face, 1 meter apart, and communicating. So that's how we're wired as human beings. That's how our brains and our ears and our hearing system is wired to talk to another human.
Okay.
And the goal of all audio communication systems is to get as close as possible to the orthotelephonic reference experience.
All right.
So one of the things that we can't have is very long delays, because otherwise, you've tried using walkie-talkies, right?
Yeah. Shh. Come on.
Yeah. Hey, over.
Yeah.
Till, are you there? It breaks up the flow of the conversation. It's not very natural. It's very frustrating. And delay is the primary culprit in creating these We call them half duplex is the fancy term for it.
Okay.
But creating these very difficult situations from a conversational standpoint. So from a very top level perspective, the number one thing is you have to drive your delays or your latencies down in order to improve the conversational experience. And a good way to do that is to use a wired communication device.
Okay. So I got this
Because
right.
there's not a whole lot of delay in that wire.
So it looks better. Yeah, it's nicer, but for a good conversation, I'll leave it out. Okay, no Bluetooth. One tip.
Well, so, technology has gone
Okay.
pretty far in the last 15, 20 years when it comes to things like Bluetooth. The latency on Bluetooth is not that bad. We generally talk about 30-ish milliseconds of latency in Bluetooth,
Yeah.
which is reasonable, but it's an extra 30 milliseconds that you're adding to your overall communication path. And the headset that you're wearing is good because it uses the boom mic that puts the
Yeah.
microphone very close to your mouth. And if there's one thing that we like in telecommunications, it's SNR. We have a saying around here, SNR is king.
Okay.
Signal to noise ratio is king. The better your signal to noise ratio, the more likely you are to get decent signal to work with in terms of speech quality, in terms of noise
So
suppression.
another
etc.
option I have always this lav mic here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Always to correct me and to record my audio. I can also maybe plug it in and use that one, but of course it has a little bit more distance to my mouth. Yeah. So this.
You're right. So you lose a little bit of SNR in
All
that
right.
case.
I think the worst that can happen is when I call someone and I just hear myself. I'm speaking and it seems like I'm interrupting myself and I can stop myself and I'm thinking, damn, what headset? What did I wrong? Is it something I can improve now because this is worst?
It is the worst. And
Yeah.
maybe the easy answer is there's not much you can do because the issue is not on your side. It's not with your device. It's actually the person that you are talking to. His or her device or system is having the issue. So it's what we call echo. And the issue here is an echo cancellation issue. When you are speaking, your voice is coming out on the other side and then being picked up by the other person's microphone and sent right back to you.
And then I hear
It is absolutely the worst experience when you're trying to talk and you hear yourself a couple hundred milliseconds later. It makes it difficult. It ruins the conversational experience. And it's the number one issue when we talk about audio conferencing systems is making sure the echo performance is up to par. And so you have to test it, you have to tune it to make sure that that does not happen.
Okay, so the devices or maybe the software can help to reduce the echo. Is that right?
That is correct. That is correct. It's a combination of both. Depends a little bit on who owns the echo cancellation process.
All right.
But either one can help. The best thing is you get it tested and you get it tuned and you get it validated.
Hold on, Jakob. When I was young, when I was want to phone someone, I just take a phone, I dial in a number, and there I got a conversation. It was just fine. What has changed over the time?
A lot has changed. Yeah, you and I are old enough to remember those days of just picking up a landline and calling somebody. And back then, it was equivalent to maybe opening up a direct line of copper between you and I, and our voices would travel along that piece of copper. And we would hog the line, we would reserve the line just for us. And that's a very inefficient way of sending voice and audio because you and I are occupying a single line. And so what's happening now with what we call packet switch calls, basically voice over IP, we're digitizing our voices. We take every bit of voice and we split it into 20 millisecond packets.
Okay.
And then we write a name on it saying every time I speak, this packet is going to Till. Gets a little address on it.
Yeah.
And then it gets a sequence number. This is packet number 1. This is packet number 2, packet number 3. And then we release it into the internet. And then these packets, they find their way across the internet.
Yeah.
And they reach Till and say, oh, I'm packet number 2. Where's packet number 1? Where's number... We got to get ourselves in order. And then your end needs to do what we call de-jitter, or basically there's a jitter buffer management system that takes all these packets and rearranges them.
But
and then
buffer sounds like there's again a delay for the playback again.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So if you were thinking about 20 millisecond packets, how long do you want that buffer to be? 5 packets worth? That's 100 milliseconds that we're in
I can
limbo
hear that.
waiting to deliver the audio.
Yeah.
But it's a much more efficient way to transmit your audio. So I like to visualize a bunch of cats. I don't know if you have cats. I don't. But a bunch of cats, little
Yeah.
name callers like you go to till, you go to till, you go to till, and then off they go.
Yeah.
And you can't herd cats, so they just go wherever they go and they show up whenever they show up.
Yeah.
It's a challenge, but it's one of the challenges that we have in modern conferencing solutions.
Okay.
And it adds to the latency. It gets us, under pressure in terms of optimizing all these other parameters for speech quality.
I'm now sitting in my office and just a
Yes.
solo office. There's
Yes.
no one talking here, no background noise. But
Yes.
sometimes when someone calls me, it's just in a train or in a car, and then it's terrible. What's happening up there?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So you and I right now are sitting in very quiet environments, so there's not a whole lot of stress on our communication paths in terms of background noise. But sometimes somebody decides to join a conference call, and they're sitting on the train or they're sitting in Starbucks or another cafe, and there's just lots of background noise, and sometimes it bleeds into the conversation for everybody to enjoy, or rather the opposite, and it's not a very fun experience. And what that boils down to is noise suppression. And you can make a fantastic noise suppressor, but it might take a second to process all that audio and clean it up and get rid of all the noise and just transmit the speech. But then we go back to the issue of conversational experience.
So that means I'm saying something, and behind there's a traffic car behind, and he takes this, and after a second he will send it out cleaned, but a second too late.
But a second too late, exactly.
Yeah, all
so
right.
the balance for manufacturers, both of the algorithms and of the devices, is can we make a noise suppression algorithm that is efficient in terms of reducing background noise to a tolerable level,
Yeah.
while doing it as quickly as possible so that you don't ruin the conversational experience.
I think this is the worst situation. I have a really important call with someone, maybe a client, and I'm speaking. I think everything is fine, but he maybe doesn't hear me that good, and I will never get that. This information that I'm sounding just awful, and I'm just a guy with a stupid headset. It doesn't sound, it just sound awful. Yeah? So I need some feedback. I need to be sure that this device works good now. Yeah, something like this.
Yeah. So you can go through the trouble of trying a whole bunch of different headsets and calling all your friends. It's tedious. It's not very reliable. There's a lot of variables in that. And of course, I think maybe the reason why you're talking to me is this is something that we have a lot of experience doing at Head Acoustics in the division that I work in.
All right.
Because we have test solutions and test platforms that do exactly what you're asking for. And in conjunction with some very rigorous international standards and industry-wide standards, you can go into any store. So in the US, we might go into something called Best Buy. I don't know what they're called in Germany, but you might have a big electronics store, and you might look for your headset, and then on that box, there might be a stamp that says, this is approved for audio conferencing.
I never seen
Video
that before.
conferencing, etc. So you look for the little mark, and the only way to get that little mark is to go through very rigorous testing procedures and certifications.
So actually, it means if I'm a producer or a manufacturer of these devices, I better call Head Acoustics to get a proper measurement system that I'm sure I get the stamp finally.
We can definitely help you with that. But just to put it into perspective, this is not an easy task to do this, and it's actually quite remarkable to think that we can talk to each other across the world.
It's so easy to use. I can activate the microphone, I can activate the camera, and I say Jakob, and there you are. But now I see what big effort there is to make this close to be a normal experience talking to you face to face. Wow.
Yeah. The consumer experience is you plug it in and it works. And then you think about the engineering perspective behind it. There's a lot that goes into it. And of course, at Head Acoustics, we have the tools to help the engineers, troubleshoot each block in the chain, each signal processing element, and of course the acoustic side, the transducers, the drivers inside the headset or the microphones, to make sure that it's working the way that the consumer expects it to be, with a low enough latency that it doesn't ruin the conversational experience as well.
Okay. So I need to know if there is a stamp certification, and this is, I understand it's made by you. Yeah, it seems like this, or at least you tested this, all the devices, and give finally the stamp to say this is a device that can work good.
Yeah, we didn't make the stamp, but we ensure that our customers can get that stamp, that certification, because they've gone through the rigorous tuning and testing and validation of their devices.
I'm a little bit proud of the company.
You should be. It's a very, very cool element, and not very well known to the general consumer and the general user out there.
All right. So thank you. Look out for the stamp to know that is a good device, in a way tested by Head Acoustics, or at least get the measurement system to make it right. All right. So thank you, Jakob. 1.5 hours
to talk to you, Till.
Yeah, it's fine. We will do this more time. I think it's fun. Yeah, I learn a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Have a nice day. For me, it's afternoon, but it's fine. Okay.
Okay.
See
Take
you.
care.
Bye.
Bye.